Welcome everyone, my name is Mike Faber, and this is how to navigate App Store Review. Let's say you've already done the hard work of creating a beautiful and intuitive app that will surprise and delight your users. The only thing standing between you and your app from taking over the market is the review process. So let's dive in and take a look at ways you can help ensure a smooth release of your app. We'll start with configuring App Store Connect for your release, and then take a look at the review process. Finally, we'll discuss how to approach the appeal in the event your submission is rejected during the review. A little background first. I've been in the software industry since 2008. Currently, I am a product manager at Livefront, overseeing a mobile app that has 2.7 million monthly active users with more than 400,000 reviews, averaging a 4.8 out of 5-star rating. Livefront is a digital product studio. We help companies envision the future of their business and then bring that vision to life. So what is App Store Review? Well, whether you're submitting your app for the first time or the 100th time, it will be required to go through a review process that can take over 24 hours. During the process, a reviewer will walk through your app to validate many aspects, from making sure your app performs as advertised, to ensuring there are no broken links, bugs, or crashes. Many aspects of the review process are directly related to your App Store account. I highly encourage you to explore your store to ensure everything is configured prior to submitting an app for review. Here are some key areas to review that may apply to your app. This is especially true when you're submitting your app for the first time, as there is some store configuration required. Next, let's walk through some key aspects of the release that can improve your review. You can access the release configuration in App Store Connect. There are some important areas here that you'll want to make sure are configured properly. First, make sure your screenshots are up to date, and don't forget about the older screen sizes too. If the screenshots don't match your app, your submission will be rejected. Also, the app description should accurately describe the app's purpose and should not mislead the users. Next, take a close look at your app review information section. This is information that goes directly to the reviewer and is an opportunity for you to get ahead of any known concerns, such as providing any required login information or contact information in case the app review team needs to reach you, or even special review notes such as having IP restrictions to certain countries. You can also provide documentation and demo videos to the reviewer. Give the reviewer as much relevant information up front to help expedite the review process. Pro tip for first-time app submissions. Submit a version of your app that you don't plan to release to production. This can be an incomplete build with minimal functionality. By submitting this early, you get to go through the full review process to ensure your store is configured properly. Do this well before you are planning any production releases. There's nothing worse than going to release to production only to run into an easily avoidable issue at the last minute. Now that your release is configured, let's talk about the review process. Before you submit your app to review, there are some best practices to be aware of. This information and more can be found in the App Review Guideline within your Apple developer account. On average, over 40% of unresolved issues are related to Guideline 2.1 app completeness, which covers many aspects of your app. Some of these are listed out here. The obvious one is crashes and bugs, so make sure to thoroughly test before submitting. While testing, ensure all links in your apps are functional, including contact information and access to your privacy policy. Be sure to finalize all images and text. Refer to the guideline for the complete list of best practices. Some other common mistakes that can result in app rejection are privacy policy issues. Make sure this accurately describes the data the app collects, how it collects that data, and how it uses that data. Data privacy laws are getting a lot of attention these days, so don't miss this step. When requesting permission to access user data, make sure to clearly describe to the user how your app will use the data. This goes hand in hand with your privacy policy to create a 1-2 punch that your legal team will love you for. User interfaces are an area of pride for Livefront. Make sure your UI has clean and user-friendly interfaces that meet the design guide requirement. Any web content served in your app should be formatted for mobile to ensure a quality experience for your users. Once you are ready, go ahead and submit your app for review. There are several release options you can select from. Personally, I love the automated phase release option. Once submitted, the review will likely take 24 hours before you get a response. If your app is rejected, you will be able to view the details within the app review section. Your reviewers are typically quite thorough with their feedback they provide and will routinely provide screenshots and specific reasons as to why your app is being rejected. Keep in mind that reviewers are human, and as such, they can make mistakes. Review their feedback carefully and validate their findings prior to taking any next steps. You can respond back to the reviewer directly from the app review section when you are ready. Remember that follow-up responses can take up to 24 hours each. You will want to make sure your initial response is detailed enough to avoid back and forth communication, which could take days to weeks if you are not careful. One more note, in my experience, resubmitting the same build in hopes of getting a different reviewer has a very low chance of success. The next reviewer will have access to all communications between the app review team and your business, so it's best to resolve all issues prior to submitting another build. There are two main reasons for expediting a review. The first is critical bug fixes. When submitting an expedited review to fix a critical bug, make sure to include the steps to reproduce the bug on the current version of your app on the App Store. The second reason for expedited reviews is event-related apps. For apps associated with an event, it's recommended you plan and schedule your release of your app in App Store Connect. However, if your app is still in review and the launch of your event is quickly approaching, you can request to have your app review expedited. Make sure your request includes the event, date of the event, and your app's association with the event. On average, 90% of submissions are reviewed in less than 24 hours. However, if you're facing one of these situations, you can request an expedited review via your Apple developer account. Please keep in mind that only submissions that have been sent to app review can be expedited, and that submitting excessive expedited requests may lead to future expedited requests not being approved. Okay, so your app has been rejected and the reviewer isn't getting on board with your reasonings as to why it should be accepted as is. This is not an ideal place to be in, as you won't be able to release any updates to your app while at this standstill. As a final Hail Mary pass, you can submit an appeal to the App Appeal Board stating your case. If you file an appeal, it is critical to respond to any requests for additional information that the app review team has before submitting an appeal. Just remember that it can take up to 24 hours for a response. Make sure to provide detailed reasonings as to why you believe your app complies with the App Store review guidelines. I recommend calling out specific sections of the review guidelines to drive home the point. Also, you can only submit one appeal per submission that didn't pass review. Be as thorough as possible, as you only get one shot. With the proper due diligence and a little bit of luck, you should be back on your way to releasing your app. Well, that was fun. Let's recap what we discussed today. First, we reviewed the initial setup of your App Store. We also walked through how to configure your release so the app review team has everything they need to approve your app quickly. Before submitting your app for review, make sure you avoid common mistakes. In the event your app is rejected, you can work directly with the app review team via your App Store Connect page. And in extreme circumstances, you can leverage the expedited review process as well. If all else fails, as a final attempt, you can submit an appeal through your Apple developer account. Thanks for spending some time with me today to learn more about the App Store review process. I hope all of your future app submissions are approved, but if not, hopefully these tips will help you along the way.